Three, two, one.
Boo! I scared you guys at home. That must have really rattled your panties,
Ain't
skirted
no
you
way you
around.
just said that. Anyways, welcome back to Campy Cast for
See, I was like, because it's our Halloween episode, so I was trying to scare the audience. So I went, boo!
you didn't have to. Okay. Anyways, yeah, this is our
The
Halloween
joke is,
episode this year. Last year I know we had like four of them, and like yeah, that was a bit much. And today we're just doing a very simple trilogy to sell. Hopefully this comes out on Halloween, unless something like annoying happens and I'm not able to have this uploaded on Halloween. Then it's a slightly late Halloween special, which would piss me off. But hopefully I can
yeah,
get this out on
exactly.
Halloween. But
If
regardless, this still
real remember
counts.
the Elm Street episode delays,
Yeah, we
those
had
were
to we
not.
had to move that in like the middle of November. It was very awkward. But
Mhm.
this year we're just doing a simple trilogy. Maybe next year we can do
Yeah.
like a bigger franchise, like just throwing in some ideas. What about scary movie? You know, that'll
Ooh,
probably
peek,
be
peek, they
that
announced
would
a second
be
one.
that would
So,
probably be as miserable as the Garfield episode, but
hey, hey, the Garfield episode was fun. You just hated my really good ideas on how the lore worked.
yeah, I did.
Oh, oh, well then, sad. But
Anyway, maybe the Saw movies. I have been watching through those, so
ooh,
that's kind of recency
ooh,
bias at
I
the
can
moment
finally
in doing
talk about
those.
Amanda.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, as for, I don't know, we'll see what we do next year. We'll see what happens, but maybe
Mhm.
a slightly bigger franchise. This time we're just doing a standalone trilogy, uh, in the form of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead trilogy. But before we get to that quickly, we got some minor pieces of news. Both of these actually just happened today, weirdly enough. So beforehand, we didn't really have any news to actually cover, but I guess what do you know? We have some stuff. First off, there was like I know like I think last episode we already discussed a leak. This time recently was found like a DreamWorks Illumination, just a Universal leak in general. And we just got a leak about
Mhm.
a bunch of like different stuff. Did you see this?
I did. I didn't read it, but I saw that there was a leak, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. What do we have here?" Funniest thing is there was a Megamind 2 listed
Yeah, that's
when
funny to me because it's like this proves that that was never really Megamind 2 and just like a launch for a
it was
shitty TV
Megamind
show.
versus the Goon Syndicate. Like that shit wasn't
Yeah,
real.
that was
That's
never
the
real. And I guess like it makes sense for them now wanting to do a Megamind 2 to try and get like, it might be nostalgic for some.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody is like it's a huge thing online, I guess. So like I really think that was never supposed to be Megamind 2 and just like a bonus movie along with the TV series that was
Yeah,
also really bad. So like
exactly. Exactly.
yeah, no one.
I
I don't
just
know. I
don't
haven't
care.
seen it, but like,
Yeah.
why even bother? I'm gonna be honest. Why even bother with Megamind 2? I basically know everything that happens in it, so like, why even bother watching it at that point? Like,
Yeah. I a lot of the stuff from the leak was very like, okay, that this is to be expected. Like, oh, Bad Guys too. I forget if they officially announced that or not, but I was like,
yeah,
okay.
they did. That's coming out next
Oh, they
year.
did? Oh, I didn't even
I don't.
remember
I
that.
I
I
was
didn't know.
surprised by that because like I didn't think that I didn't know the first one did that good at the box office to warrant a sequel. So.
Yeah, well, no, it was pretty well talked about. The
I
main
guess
character was
so,
really
yeah.
well
Like
acted.
the first and
Nothing.
like this and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish were like a huge part of like
Yeah,
last
yeah.
year.
And there's a lot of
Wait,
stuff that
no, like
like
two
make
years ago.
yeah, there's a lot of them that make me like, okay, Boss Baby 3, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that
Cruise
it's weird
3,
because like
yeah.
I thought they wouldn't do Boss Baby 3 because I think the second one bombed. I know that for
Well,
some
look, I
reason.
didn't. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like with that movie, what's funny is that I feel like everyone is memeing it when the trailer came out, but no one actually saw it when it like actually released. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that I don't know. So it just
Yeah,
ended up
I mean, in
bombing.
fairness, that was back in the era where they didn't really do this stuff like live. Like well, not let's say
Yeah,
because that was when they dropped shit on theaters and Paramount. Like, was it Peacock or Paramount Plus? One of those they dropped it on the same day. So we don't know how accurate like box office totals are to go off of for that movie. But
yeah. Most of
yeah,
these are just like I don't know. Like we already know Mario movie 2, Shrek 5, and stuff. Puss in Boots 3, interested in that. A lot of sequels here. The
Yeah,
Wild
that
Robot
one is
2.
not
I am
surprising
definitely looking
because
forward for the Wild Robot 2 because it's based off a book series and stuff, so I will be
apparently
watching
what
that.
I heard is that the first movie covers like multiple books. I'm not sure how much
Yeah,
material
but I think it
there is
mostly
left.
focused on the first book. Uh, and then the second one, like, I think adapted more like the second book. But we'll talk more about that movie in the 2024 video next year. So stay tuned for that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the idea of a sequel based on like the first movie, but I don't know. We'll see.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
yeah, it's based off
But
a book series. I heard the second book still has like an overall different plot and like structure and stuff
well,
about
I'm
like
sure it is. That's how that type of
yeah,
thing works.
obviously. I don't know. I heard some
Yeah,
people even say the second book is better than the first one, which is the main book the first movie adapts from what I've heard.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, maybe I still think it's good. If they bring back the same team, I think it'll be good.
If it works out that way, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Other
Anyway, those are some
things are
like
just kind
other.
of random. It says a Cut the Rope movie.
Oh, that's a little like
That's
quirky.
weird. I mean, I grew up with
Uh,
that mobile game, but what could they do with a plot?
yeah, but
But then
aside from
again,
just other usual stuff like a Minions 3, but
yeah,
now I'm
we knew
so
that
shocked.
we knew that
A new
already.
Secret Life of Pets
There's a
video.
Pikmin
I
movie,
have no
Donkey
idea. I
Kong
swear to
movie.
God, I
That's
do
what they
not look.
showed here. Like more
Uh,
Nintendo projects, I
I
guess.
have the oh my god, my dementia is really kicking up. I say things that you already said. Wow, this sucks. But anyway, besides that, yeah, those Nintendo projects. The one that's most interesting to me is the potential Pikmin and Star Fox down at the bottom. I don't know how legitimate either of those are, but it does strike me as
For
interesting
all I
because
know, these could all be fake, which would suck because
it
that
could.
may
Yeah, I don't even know the legitimacy of this leak. If nothing comes of it, then
I just think it'd
I
be fun to
apologize for
point
not getting
out. Plus,
your
we don't really
official
have like
news.
too much news today, so I thought it'd be fun to talk about this since it happened
Yeah,
recently.
yeah. I think Pikmin would be interesting because from what I know, those aren't overly story-based games, except for Pikmin 2, I guess, which has a whole thing of it. But Pikmin is part of one of those franchises I have never played because I did a little bit of Pikmin 3 when they ported it to Switch and nothing else. So rip with that. Same with Star Fox. I played like 2 minutes of the on of it on SNES Online, and then I gave up. But the fact that
Yeah.
both of those are listed is interesting because Star Fox has been kind of like delegated to the sidelines for because you think of them as like a big franchise. I associate the franchise more with Fox and Smash than the actual games. I don't know if that's just me, but um, yeah. The fact that that's there is like okay, that's interesting. The fact that they would do it like that, which again makes me doubt the legitimacy, but I don't know. And I don't. I just frankly, I think Mario movie is like fine from like most perspective. Just doesn't have a lot
I
to
don't
it
know.
on
The
story, which
sequel will
makes me a
probably
little
just be more
disappointed.
of the same. I doubt they'll do
I'm
anything like.
assuming it is because it's
And
Illumination.
like, I
People
enjoy
were
the
like,
first Mario movie decently enough, so it wouldn't necessarily piss me off if it is more of the same, but just like, not
I think I
anything
don't
I'm that
know. I
excited
just
for at
don't.
all.
Uh,
Yeah.
I yeah, I think where's the thing? I don't know. I just think the Mario movie, as we talked about, got a little too much glaze back when I was like, oh, Illumination's back. They're finally making good movies. Like, bro,
Yeah,
they
we
did like
talked
two
about
fun
that
ones in
already,
here. Like, stop
and
cooling your
speaking of which,
jets.
it feels like there's like original Illumination movies listed here, and I'm like, I
Yeah,
swear, it feels like this
Zelfia had
company
a
has
good.
tried to avoid like making any sort of original product. Okay, we can make a Sing 3, we can make
Well,
the Mario
actually,
movie too.
Migration was last year, and that
Yeah,
was
but
an
then again,
original
I feel like
property.
even then, that is probably one of the most basic and generic kids movies I have ever seen. Not bad or anything compared to Sing and like the other shit they've made,
Yeah,
but you know,
yeah,
it's
you
still
hit
like
it.
more of that. But like even then, it feels like it's just they've been trying to really stretch out the different types of sequels they can make for these movies
Uh,
that they've
I think
already
it's also
made.
weird having like DreamWorks and Illumination under the same
Yeah, but they're
thing.
both owned by Universal, so
I know
yeah.
that's why. It just feels weird to me to be like, oh, this stuff
Yeah,
is
it's a
so
bit, it
close.
makes it more confusing. I understand that.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. Which is, I think I don't know. DreamWorks has had a different identity. I think since the buyout from Universal, like they're being overseen by a lot of the same people. That I think makes a lot of sense. I've probably talked about that before. But yeah,
yeah.
interesting thing there. Do you have any more news before I go in my little yap?
Really, no. I might be missing something. Hopefully, I am not, but I really don't recall
Hopefully you're
much.
fine. But anyway, here's the big scoop, the big frustrating thing here. Nintendo, this is hot off the presses because it happened like 2 hours ago, as of recording. Nintendo just dropped Nintendo Music, and it's stupid and dumb and bad, and it annoys me because basically, to get the scoop, Nintendo is very weird with how their whole thing works. This kind of thing, they're very old fashioned, very behind the times on this stuff. So they don't have any of their soundtracks on streaming, which is a little weird because a lot of people love Nintendo soundtracks. Even if a Nintendo game is ass, sometimes people will still be like, well, at least the music was great. And most of the time, they're right. They have a very consistently well liked set of like soundtracks. Everyone loves Nintendo music. I love Nintendo music. Everyone does. Some tunes have been in my head for years. But the only Nintendo game to get an official release on Spotify, Apple Music, etc., is fucking Kirby Planet Robobot for some reason. That game specifically has its whole soundtrack on streaming platforms. It's really weird. But now Nintendo, in their infinite wisdom, is going, all right, boys, we got a streaming app, Nintendo Music. If you have NSO, you can stream all the Nintendo music you want. And there's a couple of things I find wrong with this. So, first of all, it's only on mobile, not on desktop, which is very annoying because I listen to most of my music on like my little laptop here. So that just immediately cuts me out of the audience. Nice one, Nintendo. Next, on top of that, the lineup is so limited. As of now, they said they're going to roll out some more later. It's kind of pathetic. But as of now, there are no Wii U or 3DS games. And that is just insane considering those are big like gaps, such a huge stay of like Nintendo, and it's not there. They have some of the heavy hitters. They got like some Nintendo, like some of the old stuff, some of the some like new stuff that to be expected. A lot of Switch games, but it's like, don't you want to have your big vast library available, like whole thing at launch? Because that's the main thing here. Like you, if you really want to sell this as a big thing, you got to have all that, and I feel like it isn't going to have all that. And on top of that, it just comes across scummy to me because like just put your fucking music on like put it on Apple Music, put it on Spotify, put it on places that people are gonna listen to all your music. But because Nintendo was so behind the times, none of that shit is on anything. And I don't know. It feels weird to do this big thing. Oh, we're not dropping Nintendo music. People are excited about this. And I'm like, my guy, you just have it all there. And Nintendo is notoriously awful with this shit because they love to take down things for, oh no, Nintendo Music said we're gonna zap this off of it, zap this off of there, and they never have official ways to listen to their soundtracks, by the way. So that's not really beneficial either. Fucking great guys. But yeah, now they're doing that same thing here because it's on fucking streaming and shit, but only on their little dinky app they got to buy their online service for. And I'm sure now they'll start striking stuff off YouTube and whatnot. So, moral of the story is Nintendo continues to be behind the times. This service is very limited for what should be such a good feature for people, and everyone's gonna get it again. Cause like, oh my god, we can listen to Nintendo music officially! Yay, on the go! Like, I get it. There's some cool stuff you can do a bunch of stuff on loop. You got a good thing here. I'm pretty sure there's some other features. It's just lame, I think, to do that whole thing, and I'm very disappointed that they did this big thing and it's not going to amount to anything. That's been a little yap. I doubt you have anything to.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about this. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
I just thought
honest.
it
I
was really
like,
good timing because it's literally just dropped,
yeah,
and
I
something I
kind of
find
zoned
really
out for a second because I'm gonna be honest. I'm like not that passionate about that
That
type of
that
stuff.
is fair.
So
I don't. There's some
yeah,
you could do like themed playlists and shit, but
yeah,
I
it
just
does
like
seem stupid though. So
I don't know. Just like if you're gonna do something like this, you really gotta like do it. And I feel like they're really like half-assing a lot of this. And for something that should be, I think, really good off the launch gate, it's just not there. And I don't know. Seems lame to me. The funny thing is, by the way, you can turn spoilers on, you can turn off tracks that'll inherently spoil games. I think that's funny. But
uh,
they're just so like limited. Like, why is your lineup so specific to these set of games? Like, right now, like they're just wasting space because NES has like two of the Mario Brothers games, and what Metroid twice because like Metroid and Metroid Famicom version, like just have the whole thing. And some franchises that are known for their fantastic music are snubbed. Like, why is Kirby got the first one and Star Allies? The motherfucker put Forgotten Land on there, put Return to Dreamland on there, put like 64, all those games with amazing soundtracks, and they're just getting snubbed. It's just, I don't know. Seems very inefficient. I hope Pokemon always has a good lineup on there. Like if they don't have fucking black and white and shit, that's cooked. But yeah, that's all. Just did a little like rant about that.
Hmm.
Fun, fun. Speaking of bad decisions, characters make bad decisions in horror movies. What are we talking about? Horror movies, horror trilogy, Evil Dead. I'm on fire with my transition
You
game.
could have just
Bada
gone
bing, bada.
like I feel like you could have made that much more natural. Speaking of
Shut up.
fun, Evil Dead or something like that.
You don't gotta
Yeah,
overdo it.
whatever. Anyways, yeah, The Evil Dead is a
Love you,
great
Anthony.
movie. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if this will be like that long of an episode. I don't have a huge thing to say on
but
any
I
of
think
these.
these are like good movies for us to talk about on here. It's kind of like
Mhm.
some
They fit
movies.
the good, quirky, ooh, oh, oh, rar X3 type spirit we got on the podcast, because they're
What?
like fun little campy horror
I
movies.
didn't
We
sign
make
up
a
for this
little,
podcast for that sentence. But
uh,
anyways,
wow.
this is a great movie. I like it's like okay, where to start? Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead trilogy here.
Yeah.
Um,
This is a fun trilogy because I think it is a great way to like it basically all these to talk about Evil Dead is to talk about Sam Raimi, and he is one of my faves based on very limited amounts of stuff I've seen from him. But I love that guy. He low key is one of the reasons I even care about like style in movies because I forget if I've told this story on the podcast before, but I remember back when I was really young, I watched Spider-Man 2002, and that movie changed my life because thing is, I that was the first time I really thought about the directorial style of a director because people always hear Sam Raimi, like they would call those movies the Raimi trilogy because he directed all three of those Spider-Man movies. And when I thought about that, I was like, okay, this is Sam Raimi, the director's vision, and that got me to think more about a specific director's style and how they shoot things and how they get stuff across, and that was really influential for me how I saw movies through that lens. And he
yeah.
has a great style in all those
We will
movies.
definitely
Oh,
talk about those one day. Right now, we're talking about his
uh,
other trilogy that he's known for. Speaking of which,
yeah,
obviously, we're not talking about the remake, like the 2013 remake, because I literally have nothing to say about
there's
that, and it
the
would be a
same
complete
that and
waste of
Evil Dead
time of a
Rise are
discussion.
movies I don't have anything
Yeah,
to
like
say
nothing really
about.
notable. I said everything about Evil Dead Rise in like the fucking 2020
Yeah,
three
yeah.
video we did already,
Every
and I have
Evil Dead
nothing to
Rise is
say
so
about the Evil
unnotable.
Dead remake.
I laughed when Anthony said we were going to talk about it. I laughed at it because it's a clown movie, like Amanda. But anyway, but anyway, yeah. So I guess leading there, to get on that, but Sam Raimi was very influential for me for that reason. And Evil Dead, I think, is one of the best showcases for that because it really tracks this first movie, Evil Dead 1981. Really is I think it's one of the movies I almost respect more than I enjoy it. I do really enjoy it, but there is a lot you could just kind of be like, "Oh, this is really cool that they made it like this," because it's a very famous example of a low budget hit. This comes from Sam's own vision. He made it very like roughly, kind of on the spot, with just a bunch of his friends, kind of
It
really
really does
rustic.
have like that type of vibe. This movie's budget,
Yeah,
I know, is incredibly low.
it is so low, and it was
It's
like,
honestly impressive. Like
yeah,
I
exactly.
first watched this movie like a year ago. When I did, I was like, I didn't really know the budget for this time, but I remember like still being very impressed with like the cool different effects and practical effects here, which
Very like
definitely are the star of the show here.
you can tell it's low budget, but I don't think that's a detriment against
Oh
it.
yeah,
It's
definitely. The
it
visuals
fits the
like
whole charm of it, and you see some stuff that like I think you can tell in some areas because like when they do those like big camera shots where they like zoom in a bunch and go all around, like that famous one where the camera goes up and it's like all the bushes and stuff outside. That's like one of the most iconic shots. You can kind of tell it's like a low budget thing, but I think it works very well for that sense. And
Yeah,
a
just
lot
like
of
by
the
the
like,
way the opening is shot, I could already like feel
yes,
like that low
it's weird to
budget
call these
energy.
movies charming, but they got like a very big appeal in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, yeah, that whole thing, it's real, real neat there. But I think just a lot of it was like, but they just it was just a bunch of Sam's friends they got on the movie to get like a bunch
Yeah,
of
you can
people to
tell a lot of these are
basically
like
go in.
a lot of these aren't really actors you would like big
Yeah,
actors that you would recognize. A lot of them didn't really go on to like star in much
they
other
did not.
pieces of material. So like I
Yeah,
mean
and then also,
Bruce Campbell uh
yeah, who
Campbell
plays our lead, Ash here.
and these
I
movies are kind
love
of he's like the
Bruce Campbell.
center of these movies and it's kind of funny seeing how like he's just a normal guy grappling with this situation in this movie and I think that's a funny contrast in compared to what we see in the next two movies and like yeah he's just a normal guy who wants to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
propose to his girlfriend and then he goes to his cabin with like his friends his sister his girlfriend like I said and then they
And
just
let's just say things get a little wacky.
yeah, they find the Book of the Dead thing, and then just shit goes wild. This whole movie basically takes place in one setting. Another way to really show the like low
Yeah.
budget thing. I legit think this is probably like one of the best like things you can do with low budget movies because like
Weird
it
because you
works.
can't do anything on a like high scale scope there. And
They did
horror
the
is, I think,
best they probably could with this. Like in
yeah,
terms of
exactly.
everything, you can really feel the effort, and the practical effects still look good. Like a bit cheesy sometimes, yeah, but that's just the natural feeling you're gonna get with these type of older horror
Hmm.
movies.
It's good to see Evil Dead and I think Evil Dead 2 in close proximity
Yeah,
because you can very
definitely.
much see how we'll get to it more with Evil Dead 2, but that movie is essentially Evil Dead 1's premise, but they like amp up a bunch of the stuff around it, like it's like
Yeah.
you got bigger budget this time, bigger, more wacky shit. So it really shows I think really tracks Sam Raimi's growth as a filmmaker as you see this whole thing there. And I think it's really neat to see that. And it really pisses me off that some stuff was digitally altered about this movie.
Yeah, and like different versions. I have
Yeah,
not
there's
seen specific different versions, but that's just
I think
unfortunately
the
a
most
thing that
like
happens in
the
DVD
one that's
stuff.
on all the one that's all on streaming and stuff is the most like the Blu-ray version from 2011. And it's nothing like huge. They don't got anything like the Star Wars special
The
editions or
fucking
any like the
Jabba the
E
Hutt
yeah,
thing.
you're
That
like
is
or like the yeah, or
abysmal.
like the ET guns. The main example is of Sam Raimi's friend Rob Tappert, who is in the background of one shot when they're driving, I think on like the bridge, one of those car scenes. You see him in the background, and Sam Raimi thought that was like, oh, it's like a he cut it out, and I think this is the one shot of like the moon that was done with some weird effect, and Sam changed it. Evil Dead 2, to my knowledge, doesn't have anything like that because by that point they
But
didn't know
okay,
what
those
shit
are
was
like
going.
tame changes
They
compared
they
to
are
like
game changes, but I actually I'll recommend this now. YMS has a good video about this. I know his reputation is kind of tanked to some people, but here's a really good thing about this, and now that's kind of like I think anti the thing in the movie because people who like the Evil Dead aren't gonna go, ah, oh, can't believe that actor was in the bushes. Sam Raimi, what an incompetent filmmaker. No, people like Evil Dead because it's charming, which is weird to say about a horror movie that has tree rape in it, but it is a charming movie.
yeah.
It is Sam and his little buddies. They all got
Yeah,
together to do
these
their
are
little
very like they're
thing.
not huge changes, but they also just feel very unnecessary at the end of the
They
day.
are unnecessary. I think detract from the point a little bit. And another thing YMS brings up in the original DVD release, early 2000s, I forget the exact year. There is a commentary track on there where like Sam and I think Bruce Campbell I'm pretty sure Bruce Campbell's on it. Sam and one of his friends is on it, and they're talking. and they point out a bunch of stuff like, oh, like Rob's in the bushes there, or oh, this looks shitty, and it's like funny because they're
I
ripping on
feel
their
like
own
they're
movie.
really just like they're just kind of like I don't know. I think they just I don't know. I think that this is just a natural thing that like some filmmakers may have in terms of like the mindset when it comes to their own
It
movie.
certainly comes with that. I understand
Not to
how that
mention this is like
happens.
one of his older movies as well, so he's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like
There's
unsure
this
about
thing
how to holds up.
George Lucas actually said one time that I think he said that movies are never like finished and they're just like released or whatever. Some movies are never finished. They're just like released or something. And that's why he like does this shit he does with the special editions where it's like, oh, I'm actually updating it by doing this, and that's why he does the
Yeah,
special
I swear
editions.
most of these changes are unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah.
They
You could
really
argue
like they're not like so bad like some other ones. Like some have fucking terrible changes. They seem like a bit like minor, but they also like you just like wondering like why. Like
they're minor enough. I don't know. When we do a full Star Wars episode, I
we should probably
wanna.
talk about those movies at some point. And I think about it. I think
Yeah,
I'll have some good
we should
stuff to
do like
say.
a whole Star Wars episode someday. So I guess I'll talk about it more then. But I get that logic some filmmakers have, which again, that's why George Lucas has been like, I'm not releasing the
Yeah, I
original
understand. It's a
trilogy.
natural mindset to have when you're a
I think
filmmaker.
you can find the OG versions online pretty easily. I
I
have a
mean, yeah, I'm
VHS.
pretty sure I was also watching. I mean, I don't know. I had to
Well,
pirate these movies, unfortunately. So,
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's obvious there. It is weird with George Lucas though, because there's a whole logistics thing about that. Like Disney owns Star Wars now, so they could release it publicly. So I don't know. But if anything, they made it worse with the fucking McClunky edit, if you know, you know. But with Evil Dead, it's weird because it's all in Sam Raimi's court, and I just don't think he cares. Because I don't think any of the distributors were changing it. It had to have been Sam. But whatever. I don't get his logic there. It's a little weird. I don't get it. Speaking of things I don't get, do you want to bring up a certain scene with the tree? Because there's debate about this tree scene and whether it goes too far. What's your take, Anthony, on the tree scene?
the tree scene is the tree scene, and it's very weird and uncomfortable, very bizarre, and like I.
I think Sam Raimi himself regrets that being in the
Yeah, that's
movie. He
fair.
thinks it went.
I could tell, and it's
I think
like
he like thought it went like too far or was too edgy, and
it's
like
technically
I
like it
get it.
functions like as a scene to show just the monsters these spirits are
It's
and
supposed
just
to
the
show how, like,
insanity.
extreme it is, and I almost get the concept, like, okay, you're doing, like, an assault scene, but it's from, like, the POV of, like, a tree that's supposed to make it like, okay, that's, like, a weird supernatural way to take it. I almost get Sam's logic, I just think, like, that's, like, a little much, like, okay. And in some respects, it comes across a little edgy, but I don't know, it's, like, not, it's a whole thing, but there's a lot of big stuff. I will say this movie is not great character wise, and by that I mean Ash is the only character I find memorable. The rest are just kind of there for Ash to have someone to play off of. But again, I don't think that's a problem because it's a very like again kind of stock horror premise. You have all these characters together for that, and you get fun stuff like you just have like a bunch of characters rattle off for some bits, and yeah, Sam. It's funny because people would make fun of this later with Doctor Strange too. How oh wow, people only like it for Sam Raimi camera movements. Squawk, squawk. I think that movie is a little like it gets a little dismissive with that there. But I think here really it does hold true because he does so much. Just like he didn't have a budget, but by God, that man had spirit, and there is so many just some incredible shots in this movie like that. There's no opening camera stuff that's great.
Yeah, it's well
A bunch of
shot for what it is. It's well
the
made.
practical gore on some
Yeah,
stuff is just
everything is
really
just like
cool for the budget.
made to be so insane and
Yeah,
exaggerated with like the
yeah,
demon voices, the deep
mhm,
voices, the movements, the makeup, the just
yeah.
everything. And also,
Really cool perspective shot I like where it's like a POV from one of the fucking ghoul people has like a front shot of like a guy whipping him with like the axe, and I think that's really cool. There's a lot of
mhm.
stuff like that that is really cleverly done. I think, like I said, not a lot of budget, but it makes up for it in a spirit. I think it's really cool to see our boy Sam here doing some
Yeah.
great
It's
stuff.
also just like funny, just like fun seeing just like the spirits rise and then the whole movie. There's not like full much of a plot. It's like a very simple because like the whole thing is in
Yeah.
one setting and the whole thing just like revolves around, just these people fighting off these like evil spirits and whatnot. And it comes to the point where the main character Ash is just so done with them at some point. Like one of the funniest parts is when he sees them screaming and yapping, and then he's all like shut up, and he's just like so
He's so
fucking
mad.
he is
He's
so mad
very
and done. And
frustrated.
you can't blame him 100%,
You,
but
you,
it's also
I
just
would like
funny.
to think that this movie contributes to Ash's mental downward spiral by the later ones, because you take the Ash from this movie and Army of Darkness, they don't exactly act the same, to put it lightly. But it's fun. It's fun. I like how all these movies carry a little different tone to them as they sort of transition into other ways. This is the most straight horror one that I think actually I think the fact that it is so low budget work, because no, like, it's very raw, very rough, doesn't have a lot of that, like, crisp sheen to it. And then it helps with it actually being scary. So I think that's fun. But um, yeah, I'd say, and for that effect, I think it works really well. And but like, all these movies are really short. That helps. And this one I think is barely 80 minutes, and
Yeah, it's
so is
short.
Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2. So
They're
it's
short
fun.
movies, which work
Yeah,
for that.
yeah,
Even
exactly.
though there's like different versions of like each of them, specifically with Army
Yeah,
of Darkness that stood out, but we'll get to that
yeah. But
later.
we'll talk about that because I have a. Well, talk, actually, I'm curious which ending you prefer because there's a whole thing about that.
Uh,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah, the makeup obviously is amazing. The stop motion usage showing these like
mhm,
evil dead spirits just melting at the end was amazing. It's just a very like uniquely creative movie when it comes to the practical effects, just going all out with him, the different noises. Also, this movie's definitely goofy with it, but I think parts of it like are almost like kind of scary. Like obviously it looks a bit cheesy and whatnot, but I'd still think
mhm,
the practical effects still look really good. Like honestly kind of realistic sometimes, even though it's definitely exaggerated at parts with the type of shit you see. But regardless, a
mhm.
lot of it like looks and it makes some stuff kind of creepy. Like I like the whole
Exactly,
like one of the
exactly.
tactics with like the whole like the Evil Dead thing with like one of the people like just turning into like someone they love or whatever. I like that as a concept and I think the way they filmed that scene made it a little bit like creepy. Now, obviously, it's not like an overly scary movie because it's incredibly goofy and campy at points, which is what I like about it. But there's like glimpses of some of that for me, which I think is kind of like just kind of like it's a good horror movie, even though it's not like, you know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from
Yeah,
here?
yeah. No, I got you. I got you. Mm, fun, fun. Shout outs to Bruce Campbell again. We
Yeah, he's
mentioned him earlier,
amazing
but
in these movies,
his
and this is
yeah, his
like,
performance like totally carries it. You wouldn't think of him as like a from how goofy like he gets later that he would, but I think it really his like over the topness really like carries a lot of the emotion in these things, and it's so
yeah.
fun. I love him.
One day, maybe we'll do like I know there's a TV show, Ash versus
Oh yeah,
Evil
I
Dead.
did. I heard about
I
that.
would
I
like
didn't
to watch
watch
that
it,
one
but I
day.
know
I heard it's really
people
good.
can love Ash versus Evil Dead. Those movies, they're like not the movies, those shows. I even they got like 3 seasons. Apparently,
Yeah, it's
Sam
not a
was back
long show.
directing
We
a
could do
bunch of
that
it.
one day. And like you
I
said,
think we
yeah.
could. Maybe next year when
Yeah,
we're
who knows? Maybe that's what we do next. Like we do the show for this. I think we could do that. Seems
that would
like
be fun. I think honestly, because people really love that show, and I haven't heard much about how it is. But yeah, yeah. Um, I guess I wonder if Ash is more unhinged than that compared to these. That'd be fine. Fucking goofy guy. As long as Bruce Campbell is in it, my beloved, he'll
yeah, I'm
carry it
curious
all.
to see how that show goes because I don't really know much about it, but I would like to check it out one day. And it's
Yeah,
only 3 seasons, so I'll probably be like, oh, yeah, it seems like a fun show. And like you said, Sam Raimi also came back to direct it, so I'm assuming it's gonna
yeah,
like have a lot of the same similar elements and practical effects from from the show. Even though there's probably some maybe CG, I imagine, but we'll see if we ever do an episode on that. But yeah. Any
Yeah.
like interesting behind the scenes
I'm
information
actually
here?
funny you asked. I'm just on the page right now. It is again, it's just more stuff about it's so funny how like very off the cuff this is. Like he got like he was like literally scraped with his pants. Like did like cost like $375,000, which for an independent thing
That
is
is,
very cheap.
yeah,
He
and it's
yeah,
very
he got
like
like he apparently approached one of his like friends like lawyers or something like, and he showed him one of his short films to try to get him like on board, and it was just like this is not how you like he got offered legal advice on how to like produce the
oh,
movie
that's
and then like
interesting.
thing. Yeah, again, very scrape by edge of his pants. Apparently a lot of stuff Raimi just kind of like bullshitted on the spot. He was like, all right, we could do this for a scene, that'd be a fun idea, and you get like a lot of the specific horror stuff from that. Again, just a lot of Raimi's friends got pulled in, a bunch of random people coming in just to get stuff done. Again, very shot by the seat of its pants, very specific stuff. And okay, this is I'm gonna read out this part on the wiki. It's very fun. It's very funny. Raimi enjoyed torturing his actors. Raimi believed that to capture pain and anger in his actors, he had to abuse them a little at times, saying, "If everyone was in extreme pain and misery, that would translate into a horror." So, he also commented that he enjoyed when an actor bled. So, that's fun. Good on you, Sam Raimi. That's fun. Uh, the they primarily produced gallons of fake blood too with corn syrup. It's like the Simpsons episode. Fun. Uh, and yeah, they're just like a whole thing. Editing was a big process. On top of that, actually like getting it distributed was another thing too. Because I had the thing, but I didn't know how to fucking get it anywhere. Because like this movie's 81, but actual like official US release wide was like 83 years later. But this is one of the biggest, I think, cult releases because it made 2.6 million, which isn't a lot by regular film standards, but on a 300 something thousand budget, I think that's pretty damn good. So yeah, good on everyone. Very, very fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it. I remember the end credits music cut to this movie was like I don't remember the specific song. I just remember it being like a much more calm and like cheery music after what we just saw, which I thought was funny. I don't remember the specific song though, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, just a funny
It
detail.
was cut very like it's very like abruptly there. I remember that's like a fun. And they did a little camera thing at the end that all ties together pretty
Yeah,
well.
very
I
simple movie if you really think about it in terms of like its overall like premise, just a
mm,
bunch of college students, they go into a cabin in the woods and then they just die, except this
mm,
normal guy who survives and sees all his friends turn into zombies. Like I like the ending, like the scene where he has to like fucking bury his girlfriend like after
mm,
his girlfriend gets like possessed by a demon. That whole sequence, was good and like raise. I don't know. It's a good sequence, just a fun sequence. Very well filmed. The
yeah,
music was good. It's well made despite how low the budget is. Like I'm very impressed with what they
exactly.
were able to do with this movie and make I don't know. It's probably one of like the best low budget movies I have ever seen. And it only like
Definitely.
yeah, just
I
like
don't have much more
yeah,
beyond
same.
that.
I kind of said everything I did. I didn't take too much
Yeah,
notes while watching this one.
that's good. I don't really take notes because that's for nerds.
Okay, bud.
Ooh, got him. But anyway, you want to get into ratings now, or
Yeah,
are we?
sure. I'm gonna give this a solid 8 out of 10. Pretty
I
great
would
movie.
go eight as well. I think we agree pretty well on ratings
Yeah,
on all these movies.
pretty well for all
But
of these, if I'm being
yeah,
honest.
yeah. So there we
Yeah.
go.
Speaking of
Anyway,
which, let's just get into the second one. Let's
yeah,
just get
Evil
right
Dead
into
2. Ooh.
Evil Dead
This
2.
is the bigger one, which I alluded to earlier. But it's basically just Evil Dead again, but bigger budget.
Yeah,
And this
it's
is
kind of
very
interesting
clear by
because
the
you notice that as soon as you get into this movie, you realize it just kind of restarts. Like it kind of
Yeah, it's
just
kind of like the retelling of the same
yeah,
premise
just
because
like
like
in the same
all
movie, just like that, which kind of shows that very little actually happened in the first movie, if you really think about
yeah,
it.
because
Which is why
it
it's
also
probably
doesn't
a
act
good
as
thing
like
why the first movie is so short, like we mentioned. So
yeah, exactly. But then so you can see our boy Ash. He's coming back. He's got this. He's not the same group. He got another group of
this
people
time it's
come.
just his
And then,
girlfriend. Like they
yeah, and it's
removed
like
all
all
the
right, I guess
other
it's
they
fine.
removed the guy, they removed his sister, they removed the other girl who I think was the girlfriend of the other I don't remember the names beside Ash,
Yeah,
I'm being
because they're
honest.
boring
Yeah, because the
characters. Like
other guy, they work for what they were. They fulfilled their purpose in the script, but
they
it's always
again,
Ash that
the
stands
very
out here.
it's a very stock horror movie. They have like a bunch of characters, but not like two interesting ones that get
Yeah,
really.
they work and serve their purpose and like making the story happen and fulfilling like, being good pawns that are like used in
Mhm.
creative ways and aren't just boring and bland. I don't know, like the acting actually works surprisingly well despite these guys like not having much experience and like we said, just being Sam Raimi's like a group of Sam Raimi's friends. And yeah,
Mhm.
now obviously I'm assuming the budget of this one is bigger, so they decided that like we have a bigger budget now, let's see what we could do, and they essentially just kind of restart the first movie but also continue where it left off. Like the opening of this movie kind of like recaps what happened in the first movie in only like a couple minutes, and then we just kind of move on after like the daytime, and yeah, from there it's just kind of continues. It continues what happens in the first movie, but also completely restarts. It's kind of interesting.
Mhm. I
And
think it's
what?
an interesting approach because again, it does show the growth of just the general growth of Sam Raimi as a filmmaker. Because again, a lot of the same stuff from Evil Dead is in Evil Dead 2, but you got a bunch of bigger budget because he's a bigger scale now. He's evolved as a director. We're getting a bunch of those big swings on a higher scope here, which is where you get stuff that's very. Oh shit! Wait, hold on. Another thing I want to one note about the Evil Dead I forgot to say. I'll just bring it up here. Evil Dead One has an like NC-17 rating, which is like beyond R, literally the highest rating you can get in the MPAA, and I don't know why. Like maybe 1981 that was the goriest thing ever made, but by like 2024 standards, that shit is nothing. Anyone can handle that. There's no way. Like really NC-17 like higher than everything else.
Hmm.
Freddy Got Fingered got like an R, I think. Come on, make it make sense. Terrifier gets like an R. That's ridiculous. Only porn gets NC-17s now. But anyway, back to Evil Dead 2. Just a lot of that big like stuff, big swings here. Um, I think is more prominent. I think it's really cool. There's one like shot with all like the deer heads. You know that part is so funny.
Oh,
Like
that
they're all
part, yeah, that whole
he's just like losing
sequence
his
where this
mind.
man is just like he sees the deer head, he sees just everything laughing to his face, and then
Yeah,
he
and
just
he just loses it because he's
it's my
so
it
dumb.
might be my favorite scene in the movie, to be honest, because like not only are the props like really good, because like I said, the practical effects only improve with this
Oh,
one,
that's
which is
great.
probably why I like it more, because it leans more into that type of just like creativity when it comes to the visuals and whatnot. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what just makes it like better to me. And that scene is like a great, probably my favorite because it's just funny watching Ash just fully descend into madness. Once started off as a simple guy with such simple motivations, is now just like becoming this badass, like the whole thing. Like in the first movie, we had a girl getting her hand possessed at some point and like scribbling and hurting
Mhm.
himself. In this movie, we have his hand becoming his own being, like getting off of him, and then he has to stab his own hand in like a full fucking Tom and Jerry ass chase sequence.
Literally, literally. This is where you get the middle ground because Evil Dead 2 is much more of a horror comedy than the first
Yeah,
is. And
definitely.
it's sort of the
There's
bridge
like
gap
no I
because
can't really and like it much more leads into the comedy because I don't think there's like any much new moments in the movie that really like stand out in
there's some
being
stuff
creepy.
that's kind of scary in like a morbid way, like what the fuck is happening? But not like actually like, oh shit, this is like real spooky
They also do the
stuff.
tree rape scene again.
Hold up. His writing is actually I can't say that on a podcast that this is like public info. Um for legal reasons I'm joking. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot. I love that one shot where Ash is like just flung around. It looks so. If I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about. Saying, I mean, I was like just flying around. It's really like goofy looking. It's so funny, and yeah, I think like the first half of this movie, I think is like because it resets a little bit in the movie to like in the middle, like lower tension. It's really like fun. Just a lot of the. I think the movie is the best when it's just at the cabin at like Ash is just like
Ash is just like
really
battling on. He just like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some
exactly.
like other characters we see here. They're not like overly interesting, but they serve this purpose. There's this girl who's like they kind of give like describe the book of the deaf here more. Like, they give more origin, like the guy who was researching it, show it more specifically in that way. There's more than just one setting this time. There's like
Yeah,
there's a
it's
brief
big.
shot near an airplane. There's there's like a brief shot with like the people entering where they found the Book of the Dead. And that's
They
mainly
drive
it,
to the
but
cabin.
there's at least more than one setting. And then again,
They
I'm fine with movies having one setting. Like they
technically going to the cabin is not the cabin. So
yeah, yeah, that's true.
mhm.
But
Yeah, there you
at
go.
the end of the day, the cabin's like a really cool setting for this movie. And
Again, it's a good horror movie type thing. Like, oh, you got a nice little rustic, rundown setting when you get to find here, and then you find the book, and it's like, oh wow, a whole thing there. It's fun. It's fun
yeah, and
stuff.
it's also like it's kind of funny watching like Ash just like randomly bumping into these new people and then just trying to like explain this type of shit to them. Like there's this like hillbilly type couple that ends up just like latching onto the ride and they're just kind of thrown into this random ass situation and don't even know what the hell is going on. And then they just like, oh, acting is still good in these movies. Bruce Campbell really steals the show as
He
per
really
usual.
dials up the insanity factor here. There's this one shot of him, I think, during the like deer head scene, where he's like laughing, like losing his mind.
Yeah, him also having his hand cut off, replaced with a chainsaw, just really shows this like whole, like him evolving as a character like
Oh my
that.
god, Chainsaw Man reference.
I
It's
like
like
there's just a
Denji.
lot of great like practical fact like the use of blood, how exaggerated it is. Like
Oh
when
my
he's
god, I know,
shooting
right?
the
It is
wall
so
and trying to
silly. I
kill the
love it.
stupid hand, and then he shoots, he thinks he's got
Mhm.
him, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, like a fucking like a pool of blood just starts radiating out of the walls and flooding the damn place. It's
Mhm.
honestly kind of incredible. Like it's amazing, like just how exaggerated and goofy is. There's just amazing like sequences of like I don't know, the tension's built well. I don't know how much I actually have to say about this movie. And that I think about
Yeah, I was
it,
gonna
it's
say
a
with this, and
very
again,
simply
very
really fun movie. And
yeah.
there's like just stuff happens in it, and it just like like hooks you with this like insanity stuff, really developing like stuff right out of
Mhm.
the the
Definitely,
first
definitely.
movie.
It's fun.
The
I love
fucking
fun. That chainsaw stuff, man. It's so cool. It's just like the visual of it is just so
Also, I
good.
find it funny that Ash is just able to fight the demon, like just get him out of his body just by
He's just
remembering
like
his dead
some guy.
girlfriend.
That's the thing. Like, he's not like any like actual level of like trained
Yeah,
from what we know. It's
I
just
think that's what makes this type of stuff so fucking funny because he just like he's not really trained in this stuff. He's just kind of fucking around, like
mhm.
messing with all this this like big, I don't know, just doing whatever. He's just able to do all this. It's funny
I
as
mean, by the way,
hell.
the poster for this movie goes hard as hell. I want to say, like, that skull, like, oh my
That's
god,
skull. That's a
peak.
cool skull. We don't even really see that in the movie,
Uh,
but you know.
hold up, his writing is this fire. Like that was me literally. But yeah.
Um,
Also, I guess just hold on. What was I gonna say? I fucking forgot what my note was. I'm sorry. You can say your thing, but I think it was a development note. Yeah, I think the idea for this one is like I think it came from Raimi when doing the first one, but obviously back then he had no idea any of this would be like profitable. This was still when he was doing shit under like very, very limited circumstances. He didn't know what any of that, how any of that was gonna happen. But, eventually he got like because cult following, Evil Dead, able to do stuff based off that, and yeah, Apparently, yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to see if there's any like it. Yeah, well, there it is. I'm trying to find more like specific notes I got here. A lot of it was based off of specific Three Stooges sketches. For those of you who don't know, the joystick is a metaphor for like the Three Stooges used to be like very, very like probably the oldest like live action TV slapstick, like or like theatrical slapstick from that stuff beyond like the Charlie Chaplin that stuff, and like from that you get a lot of that inspiration. Like, I think the main thing where Ash is like beating himself up, and a lot of the like more silly stuff. It comes from that, but I think it's funny in the sense of like again from like getting Sam Raimi's vision. Like he's like as much as he's a horror guy, he's also a very comedic person in that sensibility. Where he'll get a lot of that stuff. And it's like okay, you can see where he's coming from, the camp and the goofiness, and I think that adds a lot to this movie specifically. So that's fun. I think it's very very neat. I think yeah,
I like the
yeah,
climax of this movie when we
yeah.
have Bruce Campbell like this like summoning this Book of the Dead like thing into one single entity, and they just go all out with the effects. It's genuinely
Mm-hmm.
amazing and such a great way to like
Mm-hmm.
it's both expanding on like the first movie in terms of like knowledge and whatnot, giving us more about this like I don't know. It's legit just the first movie but better. Like and also it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like expanding on a couple stuff in an interest in like a cool way through visual like through the visuals. I also like the
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like the part where Ash is just like forced to be thrown down into the same like hatch place that the one of the girls was thrown down in the first movie, and then you see like the mother of the main girl character just come to life, and then it's just very
Mm-hmm.
campy and kind of dumb, but also like it's amazing.
The effect of it looks kind of goofy, but that adds to like
Yeah,
the
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 energy. It's hard to believe that like I mean, I feel like this time around he might like some of these actors are like I don't know, maybe he's got like more actually, never mind. I don't think these actors really went on into getting into much big roles. But regardless, I thought like
mm-hmm.
these actors did a really good job. Like honest, I mean like I don't even think a lot of them are like full big actors or anything. Like obviously not amazing beautiful performances, but they like sell this movie really well. And it's hard to believe that some of these weren't like some of these people weren't even overly experienced actors or anything, but they just did a great job. They really got into the goofiness of it all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It all, I guess, it fits the vibe of it. Still, is more like campy, silly performances fit with the whole thing. I think I will say again, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, any hardcore Evil Deaders. I still don't think the non-Ash humans in this are overly interesting. But again, they fill their role
Yeah,
well enough
that's
and at least
true. I
make
mean,
a
there
funny
isn't really
stuff.
much to them. They're just like Ash
Yeah,
is literally the center point of these movies, if I'm
there's a
being
lot of him like
honest.
alone in this one too that like
Yeah,
really
that's true. Like
highlights
the
his
scenes of him are the
character.
highlight, and the scenes when they add the other characters are still really good because it's fun seeing him just interact with like new characters and like them being roped into this situation. And the performances are the main thing that really like makes them stand out more. So like I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know. It's really they just serve their purpose in terms of like how they fit into the Evil Dead premise. And in general, like there's just a lot of potential when it comes to like the Evil Dead, like concept and whatnot. And I wouldn't mind them like making another
It's a
one. Like
very simple base, both a concept like the
there's like a lot of like
Necronomicon
fun and goofy like
do a
the
lot.
limit there's just limitless potential here. Like Evil Dead Rise is not a great movie. It's not amazing. And compared to these, I
It's
kind of
kind
wish
of
that
yeah,
movie like had more of a
it's
campy
boring.
energy, but I did like what some of the stuff that film did with like the Evil Dead premise. Like they did a new setting, they had a family dynamic, they had a couple of like cool
I think
creepy
that
shots. It's obviously not as
it's the
good
thing that kind of
cuz
I
like
respect that movie significantly more than I enjoy it because it's fun at the beginning to be like, oh, okay, they got like the opening, the funny thing about like the drone shot, that's
yeah,
funny,
I'm gonna be honest.
and
I don't
then
think anything in Evil Dead Rising really comes close to like having that same fun like feeling as this film. And I kind of wish
yeah,
they did
I
that a
know
bit
it's not
more.
trying to go for that, trying to be more serious. And even for the people who like don't think that movie's that, but it just not my preference. Then it's like okay, that's
I
boring.
just kind of
Like
find like I just kind of find the Evil
it's
Dead premise more
fine. I don't
intriguing with this. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind them like making more of these as long as they're good and not just copying the first movie
I
like
have
that
faith they'll
shitty
still be
2013
fine, though. I
remake.
don't know if it
I
looks
don't know.
good.
I feel
The
like that's why I'm
2013
interested in
remake
the series. I want to
sucks
see what
though
like Ash is
because
gonna
it
be
felt
doing.
like the 2013 remake's got that same like shit. That's mean. Like like sort of
It's
downtrodden
literally the
energy going off.
first movie, but if you took everything that I liked about the first
Exactly. There's
movie.
none of the charm to it. Like
Yeah,
when you get some dinky guys from like the '80s doing something, that's fun. When you bring like everything out of it,
it's
it's
just
less
lame because
entertaining.
like that movie just has none of the energy or charm,
Mhm.
and it's not even scary. Like it's not scary at all. Like there's barely any like creepy. I don't even remember much about it. I think it like revolved around like a drug addict girl or something, and then they went to this cabin. That's like the one thing I remember. I don't remember anything else about it. Just like I think one of the girls was like a drug addict, and that led to the plot of the
Mhm.
movie or something.
For real.
Yeah, and like there was no Ash in that movie too, so that definitely docked it some points. I mean, I think he actually was in the movie in like the post-credit scene, but I don't even know if that wasn't even a teaser or anything. He just randomly showed up on screen.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. Like just hey, oh look, it's Bruce Campbell, guys. He was in the good Evil Dead movie. Isn't it cool that he
Yeah.
randomly decided to show up for a scene that doesn't even tease anything, and he's just like, "I'm Bruce Campbell" or something like that. At
Hello,
least,
Bruce Campbell. You might know me from such things as blank and blank. Um, it would be better than his actually. I was gonna make a 2022 Ash joke. His Doctor Strange 2 cameo is fun. You know,
yeah.
that's like uh, that's kind of a cool part of that movie, but I don't know. I will say, it's annoying how people were like, I don't really complain about Marvel that much because, quite frankly, I was never invested in the MCU in the first place to be like, oh, wow, this is so much worse. But then it was really annoying when people were like, guys, Sam Raimi's back. He's here. Sam
I
Raimi
think
did it.
there's like some cool visuals that
There's
like
some stuff that
some
like
cool
tries to
shots and
fill in
visuals that
vision.
are unique, but also it's just not enough to carry
I
like
think it's
such a
also
shitty
like
and lame
I hate
script.
I don't know. I hate to sound mean, but I think a lot of it comes from a lot of Marvel movies, from what I get, aren't that visually distinct. So one
That's
comes into
fair, actually.
contact like
Most
that,
of
it's
them
like, oh,
really
everyone's like
aren't.
losing their mind over this. There's a
Yeah,
whole thing
but
that
regardless.
yeah, so sad. But yeah, rip. Um, yeah, I mean, I just like, oh wow, they did like slight stuff. There was like that music battle at the end. Feel like should be more interesting, but that's not much. They flipped the camera a little bit, but it's like that's not Sam. This isn't my goat. He's washed. What are they doing? I don't actually. I don't blame Sam at all for that because I
Yeah, it's
I
I
am
think it's
sure
mostly
Marvel.
Marvel that hold him back to
Exactly.
like
I am
going
sure
full on
Marvel
with
just
it.
didn't give him the freedom he wanted, and that fucked him
There's
over.
like
But it's
visuals that like are like mildly shown from the Evil Dead, and that's kind of cool.
mhm,
But
mhm.
like it's not enough to save such a shitty script, and also like yeah, I think you're definitely right when it comes to like the Marvel like usual this like the visual distinction and whatnot. I think that probably has something to do with it, you know. But
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah,
enough that
exactly.
side tangent. I kind of I don't know if I really have much else to say
I
about
think we
Evil
can
Dead
wrap it
2.
up now because I have a good transition here. We go
Yeah.
from 9 out of 10.
This movie is very great. And they
Yeah.
even trimmed down the tree rape scene and didn't make it as uncomfortable
Hmm.
and graphic. So,
Hmm.
yeah, or they could have just
Yeah.
not done it at all, but like, oh well. Anyways, I'm giving this a solid I'd say like a low 9 out of 10. It's still a 9 out of
Hmm.
10 at the end of the day, but it's still a fantastic movie that I have a lot of fun with. Just a better version of the
Ye-
first movie to be honest. But also
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a
I would
solid
go
sequel to
9
it.
as well. I understand who people who prefer the first, but I
I'm more
like the
of
more
a I
mixed.
prefer the second one, but
Yeah. But
I just
anyway,
think it's more fun.
so the ending of this movie, Ash crashes into like a whole thing. He's like, uh-oh, he's in medieval times. They meant nothing by that ending, but they were lucky enough to continue it in Army of Darkness, which was gonna be called Medieval Dead, and I hate that they don't have that
Well,
title because that is so
wow, yeah,
funny.
that
Medieval
is
Dead.
perfect. Medieval.
It's so
I'm gonna be
good, and
honest.
it
I
isn't
kind
good.
of hate the title of this movie because it just seems it doesn't. It just seems so generic and like.
It makes
I,
it seem out of place compared to the
yeah,
other
it's
ones. Like I
weird.
don't know
Like
how
I
to.
can't. I say, oh, this is the Evil Dead trilogy, and then like you see, okay, Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, and it's that, and Evil Dead 3. I'd be fine with that title, but Medieval Dead, that is perfect. That is
I
a clean
almost get it
title.
because it's like Evil Dead's like very disconnected from the other, like in terms of tone. Army of Darkness is very not comedic. Like it's very but
What?
not
What?
comedic. Not why did I say not? I meant
Yeah, I was
comedic.
so
'Cause, like,
confused. I was like,
I
not,
think I meant like it starts
not
off
like
not like
not.
the
Yeah, it's
first
like
one's
not. I
not.
understand what you
Much
meant. I
more at
was
this point. It's not really a horror franchise. It's more like just comedy, like fantasy, and I'm fine with that because you get a lot out of
If
it,
anything,
and
like
that's
I almost kind of prefer that because this is probably my favorite of the trilogy, if
I
I'm
would
being
agree. I
honest.
think this movie is really funny. There's so much stupid stuff in it, uh, and I think it's
You can
very
tell he
entertaining
just got
because
like a group of friends to have like
yeah,
that just had like a blast with it.
mhm.
Just like I had a blast with like just this just you could tell just like everyone was having a fun time with this movie. Just.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There's a lot of like a big set piece stuff
Yeah, it's
that
like you can
is
tell a
really
huge crew, like the budget here. Like,
yeah. But at this
there's
point, the budget's like actually normal
it's
length,
a
and they
move
get a
it's a
lot of fake
normal
stuff.
movie budget now, and you can like really tell because it's like there's a much bigger team, but much bigger variety of actors. Uh and as a result,
Mhm.
it's just a bigger movie. It's almost like it definitely stands out compared to the trilogy. Like you can tell it's a part of it, but also like at the same time, it's definitely stands out because, like you said, more comedic tone. It's also not called. It does also doesn't have Evil Dead in the title. Also has a much bigger budget, so it's definitely different from the trilogy. But different doesn't always mean bad. Because in this case, I think like the change only like led to an even probably my favorite of the trilogy, like I said, and
Mhm.
to start. Yeah, so like you said, this takes place like in a post credits tease. Did they really plan on like continuing the story from there? Uh,
I don't. Well, no, I don't think they did. It was more of like a, "Hey, it'd be
as
funny
a
if we got
as
this."
a joke, like at first,
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
curious to see like maybe as a joke. I'm not sure like how fully confident they were and if they could like do what they wanted to do here. Plus the effects look bad. Like you look at the end of Evil Dead 2 with that ending
It is
tease with the
like
fucking
if you
demons.
actually watch them back to back, they don't give you a good idea of what it's like because
Yeah, like
the ending
yeah,
of
it's
Evil
weird,
Dead 2
especially like
looks
I know you notice that happens with like a lot of stuff, like when they
yeah
tease something and
yeah, and
then like
it
they
doesn't
tease the
look like
next
that at all.
movie,
Like
but then you see the movie itself that it's teasing, and then you realize the tease in the first place was different, like much different
the
looking.
only time that has actually worked is in Back to the Future 2. They tease 3, but only because literally they play the
They
scene
play the
and that's how
trailer,
it works.
yeah. I remember like fucking the Avengers thing. When you first see them teasing Thanos, he looks so different in
He
the
looks
first.
ugly,
He looks like
honestly.
a
Like
fuck.
what?
He doesn't look. He just looks so weird. It's kind
Mhm,
of funny looking back on it now, but yeah. And then you see him in the next movie, and he looks completely different.
mhm.
Like they do that's a main. This is a main thing with like superhero movies, but it's still funny to see here, like the contrast and how like yeah. Anyways, this movie is also just like a simple journey thing. Basically, instead of Ash just being like he started off as a normal human being, then he became a kind of a deranged, like killer psycho man for these demons, which can't blame him. Now he's basically a fucking messiah who has to like stop these deadites, which I'm happy they gave these things a name, these demon things, uh, instead of just calling them I don't know the evil dead entities or whatever you want to call them. I think they're supposed to be called deadites, but anyways, uh, and now he's got to like save them from him. He's got to get this book, and then he's got to go on this journey so he can go home and then also save this like medieval village from the Deadites. And then it's a very fun, goofy movie. They go full
Mhm.
in with this goofy energy that we liked about the first two movies.
Yeah, just completely goes all out with it. Just a bunch of big set pieces like that. But at this point, Ash is just kind of very stupidly betrayed, but I don't care because it's funny. Like I love the part
I mean, he
where
was
there's a
never the most
fucking
overly intelligent character to begin with.
yeah. Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a great part where they got fucking the main like there's like small versions of him. And he has like this comedic ass slapstick fight with himself. It's so dumb. Like, come on. I love that whole thing. Again, shout out to Bruce Campbell again, completely in on the ham. It is so dumb, and they just
There
so
is
many.
they go full in. The classic scene where he has to fight mini versions of himself that just proceed to fuck with him and try to it's very
Yeah,
like I don't know.
exactly. It's
Not to
dumb.
mention at times you look at the scenes and holy cow, the green screening for the
It's
fucking
so goofy looking, but that like totally
that
sells
that
it. It's
sells
so
it. Like it's not supposed to
yeah,
look
exactly.
good because if anything, it'd be kind of weirder if it looked good. I think it like adds
Mm,
to it. Low budget. I mean, it's not even that much of a low budget. You could just tell like they just couldn't really do good green screening here. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Also, how could I? Damn it! How did I forget like Ash's iconic catchphrase of groovy? Like, come on, how
Oh,
did
did
I
we never
not
mention
mention that?
that?
We
It's
did
so
not mention that, unfortunately. But he says
yeah,
it in
yeah,
this
Gru
movie.
movie.
Yeah,
It's
when he puts
classic.
on the fucking robot hand, which is amazing.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's not, but he's a fun guy. Fun guy. Um, yeah. Although I just want to say one thing is interesting on the letterbox poster I chose for this movie. It says, let me get this, like from the director of Darkman. I find that really interesting because people like that movie, but I don't think it's popular enough for that to be like a selling point. So that's odd. But that's fine. I really like the poster for all three of these movies, by the way. Ash of the Chainsaw, and this one, it's so fun. The
Yeah.
first one too, I didn't mention that, but it's a great poster, like the rising out with the blue contrasted. It's great.
Yeah, it's an
Great
iconic
poster. Very,
movie poster.
very iconic. Definitely, yeah. Uh,
There's a lot of funny
mm,
cartoon shenanigans, such as him slipping on water, and it's in the most goofy, exaggerated way. There's the scene where where the little version of himself kind of like pushes water on him, all while he's just getting incredibly pissed off. He's just so
I like
done.
the part where he somehow gets like it stubs his toe. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
part is
damn.
really
The whole journey, I don't know, the whole jury thing is just fun. I like all the sets, the props. They really did. They have come so far with these movies, really. They got like full
exactly,
sets, all these like it's very like feels the most like a like you said, movie has more of a budget now. Really shows here with the different props and people they got on to make this movie. And everyone seemed to have a blast with like the various action scenes that occur. Like the entire climax of this movie with like the army of goofy skeleton props and then like the villain of this movie being just an evil version of Ash, like
yeah,
the evil
exactly.
version of Ash who is, is he's also played by Bruce Campbell, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It'd be
Yeah.
weird if
And
it
he's,
wasn't.
great as that. And then like he really the makeup on him is amazing and just the goofiness of his performance and just like the stupid army he command. He's just such a fun villain concept.
Exactly. Speaking of, actually, doesn't really have anything related to that, but just another note I have here. Um, which ending do you prefer?
The
Like,
ending, yeah, so there's like two
I,
endings in like the
I,
DVDs.
okay. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I find the one where he loses really funny.
The
Like,
one
I
where
like.
really I
Yeah, I find that like I understand why people find it unsatisfying,
yeah,
but
because
I find it so
it's
funny the
kind of
idea that
like
he's
I understand it is kind of
like he
funny.
forgets and then he just like no, and then that's I think that's really
It
funny.
was really
Um,
funny to me when I first watched this movie, and I thought that was like the only ending. I was like, what? Because I didn't know there was two endings for this movie going into it.
isn't that so stupid? That being the little ending for the trilogy, isn't that so
I had
funny?
to
Like
like look up like the other ending, which I
because
personally
I watched that one on this viewing because that's the one my site had. So I do think the other one's good too. It's like they're both different
yeah.
things. Yeah, you know.
But the other one is
Um,
funny with him just going back to the store, and then he just becomes a devil, not devil.
yeah.
I almost said fucking Devil Hunter. I think the Chainsaw Man thing that you mentioned earlier, legit like fucking legit like when just legit like stuck into my mind. That's funny.
Aha, Chainsaw Man, real, real. I hope this comes up natural. But yeah, yeah. It's just a lot of like set pieces like that. Again, it's funny because this one's also R, which I guess to get to the rating divide. I don't know why that one in at least in America is like that because it's really like nothing. There's a pool of blood, but I don't know if that's anything. It's not that
Yeah,
extreme.
it's
I
not
don't
bad.
know.
I also like the stupid skeleton instruments that the fucking props play.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
funny. I
So
just like the whole thing, like his whole thing with the book and whatnot, and how that just like messes with him, and like how angry he gets. Man, Bruce Campbell really carries these movies. I could not imagine anyone else doing this. Like, oh, the first scene we see him when he's
literally,
thrown into the pit, then he comes out with his chainsaw and his like shotgun, and then like deeply intimidates the other people. Then he even gets the other like group of people that they were trying to execute to go free, and it's really good. I like it's just a fun movie. Another film that's just like a really fun movie. I love the medieval setting. Just everything looks like amazing. All the practical effects. They've really outdone themselves with this one.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It again, just a lot of really like it's goofy ass. I don't even know if I have like a lot to say on it. I just think it's fun. It's a
The
lot of
thing with the him having like he has like another love interest now. I don't even know her name.
I didn't take any of that seriously because that might
I
be
yeah,
just
I didn't either. I was just gonna make a
it's
joke
just
about
like
that. I
at the
found that
oh,
funny.
what about all these memories? And she's like, I don't know. He says something goofy like I should have wrote that line. It's like it's what we call like bedmate or something. It's like weird
He
like that. I
said like
thought,
as soon like they just know. I don't know. It's like
yeah,
very goofy and like it just kind of happens and it's not like I don't know. They don't take it seriously, so like who gives a shit?
mhm,
It's kind of goofy in that way and how it's like just him like as soon as he sees him he's like he just says give me some sugar baby. It's like very goofy
mhm.
and campy and like I don't even think he fully knew the name of this girl. I don't even know the name of the girl. Literally, I
Exactly.
don't
It's
know
so
most of
goofy.
the characters' names in this movie. I just know Ash. That's why he's like the star of his own series, which we'll probably talk about at some point.
Yeah.
That should be fun. I honestly we might have
Mm.
more to say about that than like some of these movies solely because that's like a bigger TV series.
Well, yeah.
So
Like I said, they're very simple movies too, but
these
yeah,
are
it's
very simple
not too
movies. I just thought it'd be funny to like break them down a little bit, say some stuff. Just I don't know, a good way, a simple way to celebrate Halloween, I guess. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
obviously these last two episodes, I know there's been gaps, but they've been kind of short. But then again, like we've done like a lot of long ones for quite a while, and it's like,
We just
I
needed
kind
to
of
get
like
something
doing
out
these
there.
shorter episodes every now and again, just much more
I think
chill.
it's fun to have a nice little short one, just a little like
Yeah, I know it's like
fill
I
in.
know for a while it was just like, oh, every episode was almost like the last couple like episodes were all like born like 2 hours. Even the fucking Garfield episode was almost
The
two
Garfield
hours.
episode was great though. I think it justified its runtime.
If you yeah, whatever. Anyways, I don't know. The whole sequence of him splitting with like the clone in the first place was funny. Like the visual of it, like the eye growing from his like shoulder. That was like the only type of like closest thing that comes to like an overall creepy visual in this movie. And even then it's not that creepy. It's just kind of goofy. But anyways, yeah. And then like from there, the stupid like fight between them. Then he comes back as a zombie like a fucking zombie takes his girlfriend and like I don't know. The whole climax is fun. Just all the amazing fight scenes. Like you could tell everyone is having a blast, and therefore I'm having a
Yeah.
blast watching this guy try to get his book, Ash trying to defend it, and just him evolving into this fucking like war hero at this point. It's
Exactly.
very funny
I think the
character progression.
contrast of how he's treated and how he actually is very palpable. It like works really well for the movie. It's like he is not that serious at all. But you know what? It's fun, and I like how stupidly that whole thing is. It's great stuff. You can tell how much Sam Raimi's put effort into this one, but especially it's cool to see the growth. I think, like I said, all these three back to back. How like how like all these big props and stuff. And I think it still keeps the charm of the first two, despite being a bunch higher budget. Like it's still like all that stuff, like the fantasy setting, all the little like props and designs for all like the medieval stuff, like skeletons, all that. It's still like it still feels very charming, like it becomes a very like simple root perspective there. And it's very fun. I would probably said that a lot, and I'm repeating myself, but still, good on you, Sam, my idol for real. But yeah,
One
you
last
got much?
thing I
You
want to
got anything else?
mention, I like the scene when the for some reason one of the small ashes just jump into the guy's mouth, and then he has to use fucking boiling water just to like kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about
That's
it, I don't know if boiling water would kill him. If a which I find really funny how that's what kills him. Like I get in the end it was like a large chug, so he could have just drowned in it. But like I don't know, that is I don't think he would have died like that. But yet it's still really funny to think about like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that whole sequence was fun. Just a bunch of fun movies. I'm definitely going to be revisiting this. Maybe I'll even get like a DVD of the whole trilogy because I want to see like I want to see.
Hopefully, you can get one with Rob Tappert in the bushes.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be fun. I would like to hear the commentary, especially.
Yeah, I think that is you'd have to get whatever the 2000 Blu-ray is, but I'm sure it's fun. Sam Raimi, and I'm pretty sure Bruce Campbell, like I said, have like a
Yeah,
little
curious to see what Bruce
little
Campbell would talk about and with his experience since he was so
yeah.
committed to playing Ash.
It's so nice how like much like he still sticks with Sam Tulsa. Like even like in the
Yeah, he was in the
Spider-Man movie,
Spider-Man movies.
he was and he, Bruce Campbell got the honor of being the guy to introduce Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2. Like, because he has the part where he's in the ring. He's like, "The amazing Spider-Man." Like Sam was so nice,
Amazing.
given that whole thing. Good on you. I sound like High Top right now, but it's true. It's true. Good on that.
Yeah,
I love his cameos in all of them. By the way, he's the guy who tells Peter he can't come in Spider-Man 2, and he's the waiter in Spider-Man 3. Look at it. What a
yeah. It says
just
he was
so.
even in Multiverse of Madness, but which is it's cool that he's in it for
Oh yeah,
that.
I mean he's the hot dog guy,
Oh, that's
which is not.
him? He's the hot dog guy?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Wait,
him.
huh. That's funny.
I know he didn't do much, which
He
is a
was in
little
one
like
scene. The poor guy was beating him, was like
yeah,
had to
yeah.
be forced to be
Wait,
beaten up.
that's why the whole thing is about like punching himself.
Yeah, poor
It's like
guy's
evil
just punching himself.
because it's supposed
Thanks
to
a
be a
lot,
reference.
Doctor
Like
Strange.
yeah,
Bruce
that
Campbell did nothing wrong.
yeah. That is so much way. Like, I can't believe that was a multiverse movie and they do like two things. It's so lame.
Yeah, that is
Come
weird.
on.
I feel like that movie could have been like, I know it's like, I feel like that movie could have just been so much more, but it's actually just so lame and like
I
kind
know this is why
and dumb.
like I didn't even like. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh no, Doctor Strange 2 ruins the Marvel universe because it
I
breaks world
honestly
building."
care
And
less
I'm like,
about that. I just wanted the movie to have like more variety, be more creative, be
exactly.
more
That's what
fun.
I'm saying. I care less
Because
about
there
that
are
and more like
glimpses of like cool visuals and like
you are in
shooting
the multiverse
reminiscent
and
of
you're doing
these
barely
movies.
anything with that aspect.
Yet it's like, just not done well. Anyways, what were you saying? I kind of talked over
I was
you.
gonna say this is like a multiverse thing, and they barely do anything with that aspect. Like, come on, sprinkle that a little bit. That makes it more
Yeah, that movie could have been
interesting,
so
I'd say.
cooler if they really leaned into
Like,
some of
you
that
can't
more.
do fucking anything, and the most they do is the light switches are opposite colors. Like, okay, do something
Oh.
with
Yeah, that
that.
is literally one of the only like universes they fucking go to, and it's lame as
Yeah,
hell. It barely
that's why
feels like
there's
a
like,
different one. Like that's
yeah.
how like there's
Mhm.
nothing multi. I don't know. I would genuinely if that movie was like at least fun, I would be fine with like the script being kind of stupid and goofy if it really just didn't take itself too seriously and lean more into like what I like about Sam Raimi, like through these
Exactly.
movies and like
That's why it's the only
that's what
Marvel
makes
movie
that
I
movie. I
still
feel like
do.
just thinking and revisiting these movies have like made me hate that movie like more because I've come to
Yeah,
appreciate
I
Sam
get it. Like
Raimi's
that's the
style
only
more.
Marvel movie I still like stand by really hating because like I watched Thor 4, but like I said, I'm not attached to the general Marvel universe. So I
Yeah,
don't
you
care
just
what
didn't really like
really
it.
makes sense. It was
I'm assuming
created
you didn't really
in
have much like passionate feelings about
yeah,
it.
I don't really care about that movie. Doctor Strange 2, not as much as I did back in the day, but it's still an annoying movie because my goat was in it and he didn't do anything. He didn't give him the freedom, and I don't blame any of that on him. It's clearly he got shackled with a bad script, bad thing there. Poor Sam. I have so much respect for the guy, and he wait, oh, it's not something funny, but yeah, that's the whole thing there. Rip. Army of Darkness is a 9, though. I think we can
Yeah,
wrap this
same
up
here.
fast.
Probably my favorite of the trilogy.
I would
Uh,
agree.
yeah, and that's it. That's it. No, very simple, light
I
episode to
wanna watch
celebrate the
one more thing I
Halloween
want to make.
season.
You guys should watch Sam Raimi's 2009 movie Drag Me to Hell. It's like Evil Dead, but if it were made in like the
I
2000s. I
should
haven't
see that. Yeah, I think I
seen
ended
it,
up
but I'm pretty
starting the
sure it's
movie. I think I ended
cool.
up started
I think
watching it, but then I just never finished it.
you should. From what I remember, it's really fun.
Yeah,
Give
I'm
it a go.
curious to see what that movie's about. And the premise kind of intrigues me, so I'll probably watch that at some point. But anyways, thank
Yeah,
you for tuning in for another episode of Can't Be Cast. This nice simple Halloween special. And
indeed.
we'll see you maybe, who knows, maybe next year we'll either do like we mentioned at like a while ago, like maybe a big horror franchise, or we'll probably do like the Ash versus Evil Dead series. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
hopefully
probably do
something
like
different.
that. I don't know. One of those we'll do, but we'll definitely talk about Ash versus Evil Dead at some point because I
Yeah,
feel like we
hopefully
need
one of
like
those to get
I
us
think we
really
need
into
more like
it.
overall TV shows to talk about. So I feel like that would be a good
Yeah,
one to look into
our
one day.
show episodes are peak, and we need some smaller ones to wait out the big Breaking Bad, Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
Better Call Saul
Whenever
episodes.
the hell that one's coming out. I haven't watched an episode of Better Call Saul in a long time.
It's okay, Anthony. Take your time. It's slow
Yeah,
pace.
it's like I like the show, it's just a little bit slower pace at points, and it's like
Mhm,
I like slow pace. Obviously, it takes its time,
mhm.
but
It
and
is worth that slow build, and it pays off a lot in the end. So
yeah,
it all works
but
out.
I still am interested in it in some way, just not like to the point where I'm like not like rushing to finish it at the moment. But I feel like I'll
Yeah,
finish it by the time I get to like the third or fourth season. I imagine I will probably end up like watching it at a faster rate. That's what kind of happened with Breaking Bad for me. So yeah.
I got you. I think it
Anyway,
was like not to say anything spoiler specific, but you get to like the middle of the show, and that's when like I think a lot of the bigger stuff happens, and you get a lot of investment from that. But I'm not spoiling Better Call Saul on this random episode.
yeah.
Yeah. Hope you all have a good Halloween. I personally have not felt much Halloween spirit, but I hope other people do more so.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I'll actually I'll
Bye.
top this off with a reference. Happy Halloween, every do 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 do.